Hello, I'm FPX and welcome back to the video. So I have some pretty good news to share with you all because a brand new update came out for Minecraft on Bedrock platforms just a couple of days ago. This is the 1.2.13 update, and this is a really interesting update because it really brings into question the future of betas as a whole for Minecraft, especially on the Bedrock platforms. And I mean that in the good way, not the bad way, in that they might eventually be rolled into the main Minecraft update platform, because even if you haven't signed up for betas, you can now try out beta experimental features. And there was also a weird Xbox One specific issue I want to talk about, but also on top of that, they've made some huge improvements to the Bedrock rendering engine, which means that as well as working on all the updated aquatic features, there are also developers making the game run a little bit better, which means that your render distance as of this update will probably have been improved by around about 20 or even more %. So I wanted to show off that because it's pretty spectacular to see in this video. Hopefully you all do enjoy it. You can like it if you do like it because it helps out the channel a lot. Let's know you do like this whole video, but let's get straight into explaining what I mean by the render distance thing, because I feel like this one has to be seen to be truly believed, because right now, or at least before this update, the max render distance on Minecraft Windows 10 was 56 chunks. This was the highest render distance found on pretty much any platform, and 56 chunks means that you could see 800 blocks. Right now I've got it turned on. You can see 800 blocks in any direction, which means you can totally see, 1600 by 1600 area, which means you can see an abnormal amount. Like seriously, look at all the blocks I can see. It's just, it's unbelievable how far and how many biomes I can see at once. It gives you a real appreciation for the Minecraft world, being able to see this. But the crazy thing about this update, again, is that as well as working on all the other things, they added some Bedrock engine improvements, which means the way it renders stuff is improved, which means for the same performance that you can now improve much more. So instead of being able to render only 56 chunks of render distance, my PC at least, again, this is higher elsewhere, can show 72 chunks. So that is a 1/3 improvement, and if you go to 80 chunks, it's like almost 50% improvement. It's a huge improvement on the previous options, and this means that, instead of being able to see 1600 by 1600 blocks, we can now see closer to like 2200 by 2200 blocks all at one time. This means we can see an inordinate area. Again, you can see, it's like, oh, you can see pretty far, and then it keeps on rendering. There is pretty much no edge. I can see all the way to a jungle now. Like, there's a jungle, then an extreme hill. Like, the size of a biome is it seems insignificant from this height, because when you can see all the biomes at once, it's pretty darn crazy. So bear in mind, this render distance is pretty much as high as you'll ever want, because even from like 200 blocks, which is higher than most people ever are, you can pretty much see all the way to the horizon. But basically, they've made some huge improvements to the Bedrock engine, and when I say that they made improvements to the engine, obviously I'm playing on my PC, which is a high-end PC, and maybe you can't experience this exact same thing, but also they've made improvements to the phone. If I show you my phone version, I've got an S9 Plus, which goes to 24 chunks, so they made some improvements there. The iPhone X went from 6 chunk render distance to something like 30. There's huge improvements on all engines, and they've just made it so everything can work that little bit better. So now let's talk about the fact that, by the way, it goes up to 80 chunks on the PC for some people. For some reason, my PC shows 72. I guess it's doing some form of PC hardware targeting, so it's like, oh, you only have I think I have a 970 and 980 Ti. I've got a high-end GPU, but apparently it's not the very highest one. So for some people, they're giving even higher than that, 80 chunk render distance. Again, even higher than we're talking about right here. An extra 8 chunks, which is only 10%, but that 10% might count for you. It's huge, it's massive, and honestly, this is astounding to look at. But let's talk about the other platforms, because so I mentioned how the Xbox got kind of a beta issue. There wasn't accidental beta rolled out for Xbox non-beta users earlier this week, and although they fixed that, it was kind of an accident. It's still interesting that could happen, and it's also interesting because the same update, this is the 1.2.13 update that allowed this huge render distance. That same update on Minecraft for the Bedrock. So bear in mind, I'm using the beta version there. But if we go over to the Xbox, as you can see right here, if we I have my controller disconnected because I wasn't using it long enough. But if we go over to Minecraft on the Xbox, you can see how the max render distance, even though we've got the latest update, as far as I am aware, 1.2.14, there isn't a later beta update. There isn't a later update at all. This is the latest of the latest update. The render distance found here, again, with an Xbox One X, but that's not supported. So Xbox One as a whole has 22 chunks of render distance. Whether you're on Xbox One X, Xbox One S, Xbox One Original, any type of Xbox One, your max render distance is 22 chunks. And I found this to be kind of funny because it means that the phone, my S9 Plus, it's a recent phone, and an iPhone X get a better render distance than the most powerful games console, again, ever produced right now until for a very long time. The Xbox One X, it's, more powerful than like a 1070 GPU on the PC side of things. It's a crazy high-end console, but because it's not properly supported, and because the Xbox One hasn't had the same performance increase yet, I'm sure it will come, it's just not yet. It means there's this funny situation where right now, your console gets slightly worse performance than your phone does, and again, some of that is because the frame rate on phones is worse, and there's lots of reasons for it, but it's funny, and now you know, lower render distance on an Xbox One than you get on a phone. So let's move on next to talk about the kind of beta thing, because like I said, the whole, if we go back to the PC, because I guess it's more important here, you'll notice how, By the way, this is my underwater world. We'll talk more about this when the next beta comes out, which will probably be in the next few days. It's going to have new water, lots of other stuff. But let's go back to the PC side of things, and let's talk about this, because you might note this is a non-experimental world, but even though I'm playing 1.2.13, I'll prove that by going to the menu where you can see it in the bottom left here, so we go all the way back out, 1.2.13, no beta version, it doesn't say at the top of my screen, I'm playing in Windows 10, there's no beta anything going on right now. Okay, we all clear on that? Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about the fact that if we go into a world, you can see how there's experimental worlds. That's not me just renaming it EX because I figured it'd be edgy. No, there's a brand new feature, as you can see in your little world, called experimental gameplay. You can't turn it off once you've enabled it, and it's enabled for all users by default in 1.2.13. So this follows an older version of the experimental gameplay than the beta version does, but still, it's really interesting, and it kind of hints to me that they want to remove the beta system, because right now, the beta system only works for, platforms with the beta program. That's Android, that's Windows 10, that's Xbox, but the Xbox program, you have to be over 18 to join it, which isn't something, no, I don't think it's a Minecraft-specific requirement. It's because they don't need to put experimental software on there. There's lots of reasons for the beta program being questionable. You have to sign up, and then it only works on some platforms, and they've hinted they want to have betas for iOS users, and they said something about, betas for Switch, then they unsaid it, but they still said it in the first place, which makes me think that it's something they intend to do. So yeah, how do you get betas on Switch and Bedrock? Well, the simple answer to that question is you put it in the base game. So we're playing 1.2.13, but again, this is 1.2, not 1.3, not update Quatic, but here we have, what's that? It's a Trident. So yeah, this is an older version of the update Quatic. It's only got the Trident with the enchantments and then Drown, I believe, as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think there's Drown this one. Basically, there are some, updated Quatic features from previous updates. It's not exciting because we've seen it in this version before, but it is exciting because it means even if you don't play, like the betas, you can still play around with Drown now. You can still practice your Trident throw if you really want to. I mean, it's worth getting used to, I guess. And yeah, I think that's really interesting because, again, Frozen's question, the future of the beta program. I think we will probably still have a beta program that will be like a week early access to snapshots, or, maybe even 2 weeks or a month or something like that. Enough time to make sure it won't crash your console, it won't break your worlds, it won't, do something horrific. But I believe, again, this is based on all the steps we've seen so far, that even if you're a non-beta user, I know a lot of people said like, oh yeah, I'm not 18 yet, or like I didn't think to lie on my account, or whatever the exact excuse is, where they're like, oh, I can't sign up for the beta even though I want to. I think there was another weird issue, like you have to own the game digitally and whatnot. But basically, even if you have those exact issues, you will no longer have those issues if they roll into the game, which is what it currently looks like. Again, it's not directly being confirmed yet, but I mean, what more confirmation do you need than like literally I'm in the game right now and it's in there. So yeah, it's going to happen at some point probably. Again, lots of asterisks on that one. I imagine after the Switch comes out, again, that's going to be a good time for it. But we'll have to wait and see until then. I hope you all enjoyed this video, by the way. Like if you did like it, because it helps out the channel a lot. Let's know you do like this whole thing. Share if you really liked it, and subscribe if you're new around here, because I make videos like this one every single day on my channel. And if subscribed, you'll see them daily on your homepage. Thank you very much for watching. And yeah, there's more snapshots coming out too. And again, I would expect to see a beta in the next few days, so I'll keep you up to date with those things as they do come out. So for now, I hope you all enjoyed it. Oh, and one of the cool things about having such a high rend distance, I mean, like, 72 chunks, not useful all the time, but even when it rains or snows, like it is right now, your rend distance gets lowered as a percentage of your total one, which means I can still see, the 8 chunks, whatever, to the edge of the world. So, boom, fun fact, now you know. Hope you all enjoyed it, because I'll see you next time. Bye!